So we help with your resume. Uh, I'm sure a lot of you all have had to write a resume in high school already, even if it was just for an assignment. But as you get closer to graduation, more and more people are going to ask you to have a piece of paper or a Word document on your computer that you can send along that tells people what you've done and what you're capable of. And we can help you write that. So I'm here to help with that, as is our entire team. We can help you with picking your major, and we've got some different resources here that I'm going to share a couple of times. We can help you with your digital presence, because sometimes employers will Google you to find things, so we can help you figure out what they're going to find out if they're looking you up when you're applying for a job. And we also have a program where you can take a careers class without paying for extra credits or anything. It's just something that you do on your own, kind of like joining a club, and that's called Elevate, and that's listed down here as well. So check all of those out when you get a chance, or you can print it out and just stick it somewhere. Show it to a parent or cheerleader that's in your corner so that they can kind of remind you of some of those things later if you want, to help you take advantage of them. Let me come back to my face here, and then I'm going to ask you all to get on chat again. Tell me, if you haven't already, what major did you declare? Or if you're on the fence about majors, tell me about the couple of majors that you're kind of considering. Because even if you declared a major, sometimes plans change, and we want to be able to support you in the process of changing your plans. So I know we've got, oh, I see communications and speech. That's awesome. Oh, Kaylin, you want to be a disability advocate. That's awesome. I would highly encourage you to check out communications and speech, and also rehabilitation science. Whether you switch majors or you just take a couple electives in that program, that'll really help you there. Kate, you declared environmental science but may change to biology. Well, the good news is environmental science and biology are in the same department. So your first semester, a lot of those classes will be the same. And you won't fall behind. You'll just kind of chip away at it and figure out which one of those fits you a little bit better. Isabel, elementary ed. All right. So you're going to see me a couple of times in classes before you graduate, Isabel, because we meet with the oh, and Lena's math ed. Love it. So you're in the same boat. Isabel and Lena, you're going to see me in classes a couple of times, because we meet with our education majors to help them prepare for their student teaching or their internship that they do in the classroom before they graduate. V's doing rehab science. Sierra, you mentioned, oh, specifically food. Sierra, are you a cook or a baker? That's awesome. That's awesome. A little entrepreneurial spirit. I love it. Heather's doing Parks and Rec. I mentioned that a little bit earlier. Parks and Rec and hospitality, and we have someone with emergency management on the line as well. Those three programs are unique because you're required to do an internship before you graduate, which we in Career Services love, because that means that you're getting some more time out in the field before you graduate to help kind of sell yourself for that full-time job. So you'll actually be taking an internship class before you graduate, where you're out working and getting paid for it while you're also learning and getting class credit. And then Justin's doing IT. Cybersecurity is one of our newer majors in the IT computer science department, and there are a lot of jobs out there for cybersecurity folks right now. So that's exciting. Awesome, Justin. Well, what I tell students anytime I present in a class is memorize this face. I'm the one you're going to talk to if you're trying to decide between a couple of majors, or if you just want to talk about what your plans are for after graduation, because you may be set on your major, but there are a lot of different options to pursue after graduation. Even once you pick your major isn't the last decision you're ever going to make, and you still have a lot of different paths that you can follow depending on that major. So thanks for sharing with me, folks. When we're talking about picking a major, the big thing that we tell students is that we have to think about the short term and the long term. So short term for some of you may be academic advising. You got your schedule set for this semester, you declared a major, we've got that stuff taken care of, and now short term wise, we're going to worry about your classes. You just worry about those classes for the first semester and use that as kind of your gauge as you move forward. As you take classes, you'll discover which ones you're doing a little better in than others, or which ones you enjoy a little bit better. And Career Services is here to help you figure out whether that's about how it's being taught or whether it's about the subject or what your personal strengths are. We can use our classes short term to figure out where we're going to thrive instead of feeling like we're just surviving. So that's the short term goal, is let's graduate, let's get through classes, and let's feel like we're not just surviving them. We want you to feel like you're thriving in the classes you're in. Long term, which is what people typically think about when they think about career services, is the job after graduation, or the long-term career goal. And we care about that too. But when we're talking about your major or picking your classes for this semester, we have to deal with the short term before we deal with the long term. Because if you can't survive the classes you're in, the long-term goal isn't worth discussing yet. So I would say treat this summer and that first semester as a time to kind of just be really self-aware. Pay attention to the classes that you're doing well in. Pay attention to the types of projects or assignments that feel like they're really productive for you or feel like they're a good use of your time, and that'll help guide you as well. Oh, Sierra, if you have a major, how do you help students find a minor? Oh, okay. So minors are not required. You can pick a minor or you can graduate without one. Sierra, in your case, picking hospitality, you picked an emphasis within hospitality as well, right? So you can be a hospitality major and then you can do food service, or you can do lodging, or you can do events. And those aren't minors, those are an emphasis within your major. A minor is typically 16 to 18 credits, so that's about 6 classes that you take in a different subject than your major. And so that's something that you can add on. If you picked a major that has a lot of room for electives, sometimes instead of taking a bunch of electives in different subjects, you can take electives in all one subject and add a minor. Or if you just have something you're really interested in that would help you long-term in learning, like Sierra, if you're thinking about running your own business someday, maybe a couple extra business classes would be helpful. You can do those as electives, or you can group them all together as a minor. So that's completely your decision. Minors, you don't necessarily have to declare right away. You can make that decision as you go along, or as you take more classes, or as you discover how many electives you have available. Some majors actually require a minor. So I haven't seen anybody mention it in here, but if you're doing psychology or sociology as a major, you're actually required to pick a second subject to study. Because if you're studying how people think, like psychology, you should probably be able to apply that to another subject, like how people think in a business environment, or how people think we've got a rehab science major in working with clients with disabilities, or in working with a specific population. So there are a couple of majors where you're required to pick a minor, and they leave a ton of electives open so that you can do that. So whether you are on the fence about your major or you're pretty solid on it, know that Career Services is here to help you figure out what the plan is specific to you. Depending on your major, declaring faster may be helpful, especially if you're in the sciences. It takes so long to take all of the classes, and some of them are required. We call them prerequisites. You have to take one class before you move into another class. So for instance, I think it was Justin is in the cybersecurity major. Justin, it's good he declared right away, because he's got some classes he's going to need to take before he can take all those other cybersecurity classes he needs. Some of the other majors are a little bit more flexible. But the sooner that you do make a decision, the faster you'll be able to graduate, because you'll know which classes you need to finish. We are big on making sure you make the right decision and an educated decision, so that you feel confident about it when you get to the point where you're kind of committing to something. So if you're on the fence, that's okay. Once classes start in the fall, look me up. I'll show you how to make an appointment with Career Services, and we can talk about it in a little bit more detail. Heather, I've been told Parks and Rec does require a minor, but not sure which way I want to go. So Heather, Parks and Rec is like hospitality. They have you pick an emphasis within it. So you can do natural resources, you can do sports management in Parks and Rec, you can do interpretation, which is like educational programs like the park rangers do at the big state and national parks. Those are emphases or options you pick within Parks and Rec, and you do have to pick one of those. But that's built into your major, so you don't have to make room for it in your list of electives that you need to take. Oh, and Madison, does horticulture require a minor? Horticulture, there's a couple routes there. Horticulture is typically an emphasis within the agriculture business major. So it's kind of like something tagged into an ag major, but we also have an associate's, I believe, or a certificate program that we offer in plant science. So it depends on which one of those that you're talking about, Madison, but I'm assuming if you're doing the 4-year degree thing, it's actually an agriculture business degree and horticulture is your emphasis, which means you get to spend a lot of time out in our greenhouses on the farm. They actually have plant sales a couple times a year where staff and faculty and students can go out and buy all of the plants you all have grown in your labs, which is pretty cool. Oh, Madison, you're doing the 4-year degree. Yes, that's the agriculture business degree. And horticulture is they call it either an emphasis or an option. I can't remember which, but that's kind of how that one works. All right, so I'm going to share my screen again because I want you guys to see a couple of things that we have available to help you with kind of picking your major and setting some goals for yourself, okay? So let me share my screen here. And the first thing that I want you to be aware of, I'm going back to the Career Services website here. So that same spot where we went current students, Tech A to Z, and then C for Career Services. That's how I got here. And then if you scroll down a little bit, you will see a big square here that says Focus 2. Focus 2 is a free set of quizzes that we call them self-assessments, but they're short quizzes you can take that may help you with your decision making. I tell students these are not horoscopes. They don't predict the future, and they probably are not going to give you an exact plan for your life, but sometimes it's helpful to kind of reflect back on how you really feel about some things. So if you go here and try to log in, it'll ask you to set up an account, and we've got the access code to register for an account right here on the page so that you can do that even this summer if you want, okay? And there will be 4 or 5 different quizzes you can take in there. There's one about your personality. There's another one about work interests, which is my personal favorite. It'll ask you what kinds of things tasks that you like to do, which sometimes is way more beneficial than your personality. It's like, what do you actually like to spend your time doing? That can be a really good telltale sign of what kinds of classes you feel like you're going to be successful in. But it can also really help us figure out what's important to you long term. There's a values quiz in there where you can kind of go through what your priorities might be. And there's also one in there about skills where you can go through and kind of read through what other people have said are some big skills in different jobs, and then decide which ones you feel like you have, and it'll give you kind of a very generic open list of jobs that might include those skills. So I would encourage you to read the results of those quizzes if you decide to take them, and even share them with the people you care about. Have them read over it and tell you what they agree or disagree with. It's a computer test, so it's not perfect and it can't predict the future, and it doesn't know you as well as a human being, but it will get you thinking a little bit about your plans and how your goals might line up with who you are as a person. The only other thing I'd say about that is make sure you take it when you're having a good day, when you're in a good mood. If we're having a rough one and we take a test like that, sometimes that grumpiness comes out in our results and it's not as accurate as it could be. So Focus 2 is something that's really neat that we have available to you even before classes start if you want to log in and just take a couple quizzes and see what it says. Don't be discouraged if it doesn't immediately tell you that you've picked the right major, because it's a very general computer test, but it does help us kind of reflect on how we feel about some things. Okay, I'm gonna pause for a minute and just check back. Does anybody have any questions about the Focus 2 or personality tests or how declaring a major works? Anything like that? Or why or when we need to declare a major? If you've already met with your academic advisor to pick your schedule, the first thing that they look at is which major you are or which major you want to pick. You will meet with them again in typically mid-late October or early November to set your schedule for the spring semester. And at that point, they're going to ask you again, now, are we still this major? And if you're on the fence, or if you're wondering what you can do with that major, you're probably going to hear my name again. They'll say, we want you to go talk to Melanie Diffey, the career counselor, to kind of go through your plans a little bit in detail. And that's not like being put in timeout. That's making sure that we're all cheering for you and getting you into the classes that you need, okay? So you're welcome to use our office at any point, but if you get to October, November and meet with your academic advisor and they get the sense that you're on the fence about your plans, even if your major is solid, they're probably going to tell you to come talk to me. And that's a good thing. That means that we're chipping away at your plans together, okay? I'm not seeing any new chat questions, so I'm going to move forward and show you guys something else here. Quick question. Anybody in the chat, tell me, anybody doing anything creative to have fun while they're social distancing? Anybody doing anything goofy? We went up to the top of Mount Nebo a few weeks ago and just screamed at the top of our lungs because nobody was out and they couldn't hear us anyway. It was kind of fun, and listen to the echo. We've also made some fun masks. My daughter has one with bumblebees on it that she's a little obsessed with right now. So tell me if you're doing anything fun while you're social distancing while I share the screen here. V's baking a lot of desserts. Oh, I love it. I'm a chocoholic. I can't help it. I bake cookies and things all the time. Ask Amanda, our director. I've been baking sourdough bread because I finally got a starter going. It took me 6 weeks. That's sad, but it did. It took me 6 weeks. Justin, how can I find work study jobs in computer science department? I love it. Justin, you're jumping the gun and I love it. Planning ahead. We're about to talk about work study. That's awesome. V, chocolate banana bread. Ooh, I haven't tried that one. That sounds delicious. I hear banana bread's best to make when your bananas are about to go bad. Okay, a quilt out of t-shirts. Sweet. Sewing and DIY projects. Oh, and lots of TikTok. Nice, Sierra. Okay, so I'm going to share my screen again here and show you all a couple of things. This page is something you're going to have access to. Oh, it logged me out, so I'm going to log myself back in here. You guys get to see my email address, so feel free to email me if you need anything. This is something you're going to have access to once you start classes. If you already have logged into your OneTech account, you're going to see a button that says Handshake under Student Services. This is your Handshake homepage. And Justin, I'm going to hit you. By the way, guys, I can't see the chat right now, so Sabrina's going to let me know if I have questions as we go through this part. Justin, we're going to hit your question first. Handshake is your portal to career services. It's how you're going to see when I'm available to make appointments. We've got free resources in here you can use on your own time. We've posted all of our events in here, so upcoming career fairs and things are going to be in here. But for you all right now, the big thing is the job board. So when you log into Handshake, right here front and center is the jobs button. Okay, and this is a national job board. This is specifically for college students, and any employer that posts a job in here is doing it because they want to hire students like you. They specifically decided to advertise to Arkansas Tech students, which is super helpful and awesome. And we know you guys are going to look for jobs at a lot of different points. Some of you all are going to use this when you look for full-time work as you get closer to graduation. Some of you all are going to use this to look for summer jobs or internships. And by the way, you can do that after your freshman, your sophomore, or your junior year. You don't have to wait until you're a junior or senior to get an internship. You can go out in the field and kind of try things out way before that. And some of you all know that you're going to need to kind of support yourself during college. So you're going to be looking for part-time jobs, maybe local jobs, maybe on-campus work-study jobs. So this is the job board. And you'll notice it has buttons to filter things out up here. So Justin, for you, if we were looking at just on-campus jobs, it'll show us just the on-campus jobs. Now it's the middle of the summer and the campus is closed. There aren't any on-campus jobs posted right now. But this is how you would look. If any department is advertising an opening on campus, you click the on-campus button and it would show you what kind of jobs they have available, okay? And this could be anything from working in the bookstore or the library or the cafeteria to department offices, student services. Sometimes we have students that are hired to like set up tables and things around campus. So that's going to be under on-campus jobs. Part-time jobs may be on campus and maybe off campus, but they're employers that have said this is not going to be a full-time gig. And you can search for part-time. You can also search for things that are specifically internships. Cool thing about internships is we know it's short-term, typically in the summertime or over one semester, and it's like a really long interview. So the employers get to try you out and you get to try out that job and see how much you like it or whether you'd want to do it after graduation. You can also search by location. So if I search just for Russellville, Arkansas right now, because some of you all may be looking for work, but you have transportation, so you don't have to just stay on campus. That's within a 50-mile radius. Let's narrow it down here a little bit. Maybe 11 miles. So that's the surrounding area. Sugar Creek Foods is looking for someone. These are full-time positions, actually, which is awesome. Army National Guard is looking for folks to join part-time. By the way, you can do the National Guard while you're in school and they'll help you pay for it. Same with ROTC. So if that's something you're interested in, we have military personnel on campus that'll talk with you all about that. There's some remote work that you can do in Russellville as well. And we have several businesses that are local that love to hire our students. We have call centers, we have retail jobs, we have jobs at the hospital, jobs at local small businesses. Sometimes students get hired for specific projects to kind of help out with something that has to do with their major. So this job board, Justin, is going to be your bread and butter when you're looking for jobs, okay? Also, I'm going back to the home page here. In Handshake, we have events. Now, right now, campus is not open, so all of our events are virtual events. But coming up in the fall and in the spring, as things become more available face-to-face, you'll see other events in here as well. And we have a button for fairs. So you all are going to hear about career fairs from Career Services quite a bit. We have big meetings where employers come to campus and they want to meet with students to find interns or people that are willing to work after graduation, and you don't have to wait to be a senior to go to those. We may have those virtually as well if the campus is not completely opened up this fall. So you may have the opportunity to meet with employers from your dorm room or from your living room on your computer and talk with them. The other thing that I really want you guys to see here in Handshake is that you can set appointments. So I just clicked on the Career Center, and once you have enrolled and started your classes in the fall, you can go in here under appointments and select a time to meet with me if you need to talk about something. That can be your resume, picking a major, figuring out what you want to do with the major you've already picked, practicing for interviews, even if it's for a part-time job. I can help you with all that stuff. And we also have a list here of resources. These are all things that you do not need to talk with Career Services to be able to use. So we've got sample resumes and cover letters in here, a link to that Focus 2 personality quiz, Elevate, which I'm going to talk about in a minute, and a lot of other things that are free and easy to get to that you can use on your own. And that's all in Handshake. So once you start classes in August, you'll have a Handshake button in OneTech that logs you in. Right now, if you try to log in, the button will be there, but it won't let you in because you haven't started classes yet, okay? So that's Handshake in a nutshell, and we're here specifically for you. Looking for work or planning for future work, whether that's part-time, work study, full-time, internships. Some of you all, we've got several science folks in here. Maybe you're looking for for opportunities to do research, or help out with some kind of fellowship. We can help you with that stuff too. So feel free to let us know how we can help in that way also. Before I move on to specifically talking about work study, because I know that's something that several of you may have seen on your financial aid award letter, but don't know what it is. Do we have questions for me about looking for work or anything like that? Sabrina, thank you for sharing my email address. I appreciate that. Questions about looking for work or about career services stuff so far? No? Okay. So,
well, before you move on real quick, I just want to make us aware of the time. We've got about 5 to 10 minutes left, so that way we can end on time for the next session. So.
Perfect. Thank you so much, Sabrina. Do me a quick favor, just wave at me or tell me in the chat if you've already gotten your financial aid award letter, or you've heard about what kind of financial aid you got. Okay, V, Sierra, I see you. When you get that award letter, it's going to tell you about sometimes a bunch of different ways that you could potentially get money for school. And those awards come from a lot of different places. Some of them are grants, some of them are loans, some of them are things that you earned because of your grades in high school or your score on the ACT. But some of you all may have a line in there that says federal work study, and it'll have an amount. It's typically $200 or $400 that you qualify for. Federal work study is a little bit different than scholarships or grants or loans. It's not money that goes directly onto your student account to help pay for classes. What that means is that the federal government, the US government, has said, we want to help making money in college be a little easier for you. So if you want to work on campus, we will let you do that without charging you as much in taxes, so that you can earn the same amount of financial aid from everywhere else in future semesters, even if you earned a little bit more money from having a part-time job. That's really what that means. So when you see something on your award letter that says federal work study, that means that you qualify to have an on-campus job that gets a little bit of a tax break to help you out, okay? It's still an on-campus job, so you have to find an on-campus position and apply for it and be picked for that job. And the amount that they give you on your award letter is just kind of a holding place. If you find a work study position and they offer you that position, you'll need to call financial aid and find out how much money you can really earn, because it's oftentimes more than that initial amount that they gave you on your award letter. But it's a paycheck. So it doesn't just go to your student account. It's not money that's just waiting for you. It means if you get an on-campus job, there are some tax perks, okay? If you qualify for federal work study and you have transportation, you can still go get a job off campus instead. It just means that you'll get a little less tax money taken out, and it won't affect how you qualify for future financial aid if you find a work study job on campus, okay? Now, if any department tells us that they have on-campus openings, we're going to post them in Handshake, which I just showed you all. So that's where I would encourage you to start checking as soon as the semester starts to see if there are any openings. I can tell you, if you get hired for an on-campus federal work study position, typically you get to hold on to it for several years, which is nice. But not everyone is able to find those. So just know that that's not the same as scholarship or grant or loan money. It's a paycheck that you could earn. And I'm going to share my screen here again for a minute. This is the last thing I wanted to share with you all. This is the financial aid page on the Tech website. Again, I went to current students, Tech A to Z, and then F for financial aid. But they have a really cool thing in here. If you go to the menu, whoops, not the menu, I apologize. If you scroll down to resources, called Tech Sense, and it's got the $ in there. That page has all kinds of stuff about how to plan for paying for school and what happens afterwards, like what students' loans look like. There's an explanation of work study in there. There's an explanation of all the different kinds of aid that you get. So if you saw work study on your award letter, Handshake is where you're going to look to see if you if there are positions you can apply for on campus. But that doesn't mean you only can work on campus. It just means there's a little bit of a perk if you get an on-campus job, okay? Justin says, on-campus jobs cannot be applied till school starts. Justin, because the campus is closed right now, there are not any departments currently hiring for on-campus jobs. I would encourage you, as you get closer to starting classes, probably about a week before classes, you'll have access to Handshake and you can start checking then. The moment you have access or see open jobs, you can apply for them. But we also tell students, you don't have to wait for an opening. You can reach out to a department and say, hey, I'm looking for a work-study job, or I would love to work for your department. Here's kind of my background, or here's what I can do. If you have a resume that you wrote in high school or you're working on one this summer, you could forward that along to them as well. So you can reach out to departments to apply for positions, but no one is currently advertising for on-campus jobs is the best answer I can give you there, Justin. Other questions about work study, because that was the last thing I wanted to make sure that you all heard from me, and we want to give some time just for general questions. So Sabrina, I'll hand it back to you. Feel free to get on the chat, folks, or unmute yourself and let us know if you have other questions. It's been a lot of information, but I'm so glad that we got to chat, and please let me know how I can help you.
I'm actually responding to a question that came to me privately, so I'm working on that.
Great.
We're good on time, so I will finish that response real quick. Any other questions for the group or anything else y'all want to share?
Okay, well, do me a favor, memorize this face. I'm going to be around a lot, whether it's virtually or in your classes, or you come have an appointment with me. Everyone in our staff is here to help, and we want to make sure that we're helping you meet whatever goals you've set for yourself for the future. So let us know how we can do that, and we're looking forward to having you all with us in the fall.
All right, thank you so much, Melanie. Man, I feel like I learned a lot myself. Yeah, Meredith is sharing in that. All right, so just a couple of reminders. If you haven't already registered for classes, go ahead and schedule your academic advising appointment really soon. For those of you who are freshmen, you can do that through the One Tech Student Portal and go to the registration tab and select schedule tech advise or your academic advising appointment. And then if you're a transfer student, if you have less than 60 credit hours, you're advised by the Academic Advising Center. And if you have 60 or more credit hours, then you're advised by your academic department. And so you can find information about that, or feel free to reach out to me and I can help get you connected that way. And then our last reminder is later this week, we will be launching our new ATU app. It's an app specifically for students like you who are coming to ATU, so y'all can connect with each other, get to know one another, make friends, maybe even find a roommate if you need one. But that information will be coming out soon, so look for an email on Friday. All right, well, hearing no other questions, we'll go ahead and conclude. And again, Melanie, thank you so much. And students, it was so great to see y'all, and thank you for joining us today.
Thanks so much. Bye, guys.